Hi, I'm being joined by Matt from the band Swans. Welcome, Matt.
Hi.
You're interviewing yourself in order to promote your band's forthcoming debut album.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not particularly original. People have done this before, staging an interview with themselves and then pretending that it's clever to analyse their own work in a self-effacing way, when in fact it's just a fairly efficient and immodest method of self-promotion.
I absolutely agree that it's not original. I got the idea from the Bright Eyes album, where an actor in the guise of Conor Oberst answers questions on a fictional radio show and gets to explain the metaphors he employs on the record. But you said yourself that it's an efficient method of self-promotion, and right now that's exactly what I'm looking for.
Okay, so describe the album.
So the album is called The Tyranny of Robot Swans. It's the first album of the band I'm in, who are called Robot Swans. It's out on May the 7th. It has 12 tracks. You can get it from robotswans.com, various other outlets.
Yeah. Don't worry, we'll put all the links and things in the description. But I think what people watching this are going to be wondering is, what's your relationship to the band?
Sorry?
You referred to Robot Swans as the band I'm in, rather than, say, my band. Do you have an issue expressing ownership over Robot Swans as a brand?
Yeah, I don't call it my band because all three members of the band have written songs for the album. All three members of the band perform lead vocals at various points on the album. It's a collective. We've created music as a collective that none of us would have created as individuals.
And yet you're the sole member of the band appearing in this video. How do you explain that?
Essentially, I thought we needed as many YouTube videos as possible in order to promote the album. It's much quicker for me to do something like this myself. I feel like you're getting hung up on the wrong things maybe. I'd enjoy the opportunity to discuss the politics of the lyrics, the philosophy behind the sonic aesthetic of the record.
You can't say sonic aesthetic, it's an oxymoron. Okay, sonically, how did the album come to be the way it is?
It all stems from the drum machine. I designed it myself, wrote the software for it, and the idea was to parameterize a human drummer, so that our drum beats would be created by adjusting human traits, so like sloppiness or excitability. Most drum machines are focused on binaries and integers, so kick drum or no kick drum, a hi-hat on the third beat or the fourth beat. I wanted to move beyond that, so our drum machine is thinking more like, maybe I'll play the snare drum, maybe I won't, maybe I'll hit it quietly and a little bit off tempo because that's how I'm feeling.
That's not a very clear explanation.
Okay, so the short answer is we designed our own drum machine and it sounds a particular way, quite lo-fi.
Lo-fi because it wasn't designed very well?
Partially, yeah, whatever. But then that basis of the sound is augmented by Laura's Q chord, which is like this mad 80s electronic instrument which makes everything sound really twinkly, and then that twinkliness is counterpointed by...
Are you sure you can use counterpoint as a verb in that context?
The twinkliness is juxtaposed by Luke's bass, which is quite driving, quite rocky, often quite distorted. It's really all about that contrast, the dirty bass and the dreamlike electronic sounds.
Another example of contrast in your music is the frequent swearing in the lyrics, which contrasts with the otherwise quite inoffensive tenor of the songs.
I think it's quite useful to have the full range of language at your disposal. We swear for emphasis, but I find it a bit disappointing that you think of the songs fundamentally as inoffensive. I mean, it's like not an intrinsically negative description, but I feel you used it quite pejoratively, like quite antagonistically almost. Honestly, do you like the album?
I'm strictly neutral. I'm a journalist. I ask questions that I think are pertinent.
Okay, in your neutral, unbiased opinion, what do you think of the album?
It's fine. Production quality is adequate. The drum machine is interesting at first, if a bit repetitive. Bass guitar is solid. The lyrics are inconsistent, but when they do occasionally free themselves from mixed metaphor, they can be somewhat engaging. The vocals are not a beacon of technical proficiency, but I listened to it from start to finish and didn't cancel this interview, so yeah, it's a decent first effort.
So how would you do things differently?
Well, I could say that you should write more coherent songs, but that's not particularly constructive criticism, because if you could do that, then presumably you already would be doing it. In terms of a single change you can make to improve your sound, I mean, I understand that your drum machine is your unique selling point, but you're basically just playing rock music anyway. Why resist what people have known for decades, which is that real drummers sound good?
Yeah, but like the whole point of this band was to try and do things a bit differently, to try and distill the best parts of rock and pop music while rejecting the cliches.
It's like quite neurotic about conformity, aren't you?
I think you have to be. There's so much music on the internet now that to upload another hour of cookie cutter indie rock seems irresponsible, unethical even. There's this giant spreading sphere of homemade music on Bandcamp, SoundCloud, wherever, and every time you click upload, every time you click share, you're putting up your hand and saying, like, look at me. So if we're going to be saying look at us, I've got no interest in doing that with generic music. I'm quite comfortable with the idea that we might sometimes create music that's weird and bad, but I'd be mortified if I thought we'd created something that's normal and adequate.
Okay, but the point remains, you are quite neurotic about conformity to the extent that you mention it explicitly in your lyrics. Interestingly, in the song Islands, you use the word conform, but you put the stress on the first syllable rather than the second.
Yeah, I did that because I wanted to highlight the etymology of the word. I wanted people to think about the first syllable. Con meaning together, like congregation or constellation. Sometimes by changing the stress you place on a syllable, you can take a word that's become quite tired and cliched and make people reset their understanding of that word, not change its meaning, but polish it, make it shine through the dust of conversational overuse.
So it wasn't just that you got the scansion of the line wrong?
No.
Robot Swans have a reputation for using odd homemade instruments when playing live.
Yeah, for the last few years I've got quite into electronics, so I thought it would be interesting to work that into our live performances. The main one that people talk about is this instrument I made, which is a jar of water with a bunch of wires dangling inside it. You can get different notes by moving or shaking the jar and getting different wires to come into contact with the water.
It's interesting that you use that instrument live but not on the album. The fact that you don't actually utilise the sound that the instrument creates, is that an implicit admission that your penchant for strange electronic instruments is just a gimmick, an affectation?
It's a visually interesting instrument, and it just so happens to produce a sound that can be more easily produced in other ways in a recording environment. It doesn't make it a gimmick. An album is an audio medium. There's no point trying to record visually interesting things through a microphone. Do you know what a microphone is?
Obviously I know what...
This is a camera. It records video, moving images that we sense with our eyes. That would be a good way to record visually interesting things, perhaps for a film, because film is an audio-visual medium. But microphone, that's something different. When a group of musicians want to make an album, they will use microphones. Microphones pick up the vibration of the air molecules, which we call sound. An album is composed of these sounds, but does not contain a visual element, apart from the cover art, I guess.
Speaking of the cover art, the album's cover features a picture of what I assume is a Lego robot swan.
Yes, it does. Do you have a problem with that?
Yeah. No, I think it's cool.
Oh. Thanks.
I thought it was a computer model, but I heard it's actually a real Lego model.
Oh, yeah, I've actually got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Nice.
So have you got everything you need? Because I just think...
Yeah. I'm good if you are.
Yeah. I could probably leave it there.
Sure. Thanks. Well, so Robot Swans' debut album, The Tyranny of Robot Swans, is out on May the 7th. Thanks for watching.